Suddenly disaster struck the earth as countless powerful monsters, dubbed calamities, appear and destroy cities all around the world. The government resorted to using nuclear weapons against them. However, even they proved to be ineffective. As the humans have lost all glimmer of hope, the 12 saints arrive, who have received the power of 12 divine gods. However, one man, Legion, awakened without the god's power. Furthermore, he is more powerful than all the other saints. One day as all the saints fight against the worst calamity, Crimson Eye, Legion is backstabbed and thrown into a trap. As he lies there, unable to move, Legion decides to keep fighting, claiming that he will not die until he takes his revenge on the ones who have wronged him. The story begins inside of a restaurant, where Hugo Otter, the Sagittarius Saint, is having a meal with Legion, the 13th Awakened. There, Hugo tells Jin that he might die tomorrow. However, Legion jokes around, looking unconcerned as he claims that he alone has killed more calamities than the 12 saints combined. As such, he would not die. Jin then also revealed that at the Demon Tower, where the most fearsome calamity resides, will be their destination. He also adds at the end of the 20th century, calamities appeared all over the world, and consequently drove mankind into a corner. As they finally go to Demon Tower, the other saints are seen to be greedy and only care about money. As they enter and make their way to the boss, Crimson Eye, he proves to be far too powerful. As the other saints run after witnessing Crimson Eye's power, Legion goes to attack, but gets stabbed and thrown into a special trap, which creates infinite calamites. Nonetheless, Jin doesn't give up and keeps attacking for the next 20 years, until he finally reaches the last remaining calamity, and defeats it before collapsing on the ground. Meanwhile, back in the real world, two workers are being chased by some high-ranking calamities. As they are about to meet their creator, Jin appears out of nowhere, ready to take his revenge on the saints who had left him to rot. The workers are astonished after seeing Jin, who emerges after defeating the calamities that chased them, but get terrified as the boss appears behind Jin. As the boss attacks, the workers await their incoming death, but are shocked to find themselves still alive as Jin protects them. He then attacks the boss back, defeating it in one punch. As thanks, the workers treat Jin to some food, where he eats 120 portions alone. There, Jin also finds that his body has completely recovered. Upon further notice, he finds a mark on his left hand, and learns that his previous body had died. However, his soul has been put into another vessel. Furthermore, all the memories and skills of his past life are passed on. Nonetheless, he still only craves revenge against the saints. Meanwhile, back where Jin appeared, investigators discuss who would be responsible for defeating such calamities, contemplating if Jin managed to survive, as only he is powerful enough to do such a task. On the other hand, the news of the high-ranking calamities being defeated spread far and wide. As such, Yan Wei, the Aries Saint, is questioned about the incident. However, he has no comment. Later, he is also seen to worry if Jin really did survive, and brought down these beasts. On the flip side, Hugo Otters has now made it big and is now an influential VIP. He arrives in England for a meeting with the Prime Minister, however gets annoyed at the many calls he keeps getting. Suddenly, he also revives a call from the Prime Minister, who informs him that the South Korean government has informed him that Legion's cell phone was just found active. As such, he then hears the voice notes left on his phone, finding out that it was Jin all along who was calling him. Consequently, he then rushes back to the airport, postponing his business in England. Back to Legion, who learns that 20 years have passed in the real world. He also uses a smartphone for the first time, only to see that the 12 saints took credit for defeating Crimson Eye. He also learns that his will to donate all his belongings to charities and people in need was ignored, and his possessions were given to the 12 saints instead. Suddenly, he is also confronted by a household god of Aries, a subordinate of the Aries divine god. As he meets with it outside, he also runs into a gangster couple of Gemini group, who are Rankers and Mokjin. As such, Jin then calls them cockroaches and picks a fight. He easily defeats the man who mocked him. However, learns that he carried a divine artifact that only the saints carried back in his time. As such, one of the workers, Han Jimin, explains as only 12 people were unable to protect the entire world. The saints created groups of people who followed them, called divine cotters. He also explains the power dynamic, stating the saints to be the strangest, then the 10 stars considered to be saint candidates, then the cotters captains which manage the cotters, and then the cotters themselves, who further divide into power classes. Suddenly, the household gods want to be entertained further, telling Jin to finish of the couple as they wanted to see some blood. However, Legion blasts them all away, as it is revealed opposing the household gods was akin to opposing a real god. After this, he then proceeds to steal everything off the man he just fought and defeated, claiming that the looting times are the best. Soon, Jin decides to mooch off Jimin, who hesitantly agrees to let him stay over at his house. There, he also cuts his hair, receiving compliment from Jimin, making Jin blush. Furthermore, he notices that many small and low-rank calamities were present in Jimin's house. Upon investigation, he finds that there are many evil artifacts, which he was gifted them by the Gemini group, as he is also a Coders present, which attract calamities. Suddenly, a red-haired guy, introduced as Jin Sung-yi, walks in the house, claiming that he was the owner of this house and is enraged after seeing the mess Jin created. On the other hand, Young Wai receives news about the household gods who have disappeared in Korea. He also hears that Hugo is on his way there, which makes him worried about what is going on. As such, he decides to head there to see the situation with his own eyes. Meanwhile, the Gemini ranker Jin almost killed earlier is at the hospital, where grandfather is angry after seeing his grandson in this condition. However, Min Sung-hoon, an S-rank Gemini coder, tells him to calm down, as he was dispatched to take care of this matter. On the other hand, Jimin tries to explain to Sung-yi how he meets Jin. However, he doesn't believe him. Furthermore, he becomes enraged after Jin introduces himself as Legion and starts to cause a commotion. Furthermore, he, revealed to be a rank Gemini coder, tries to attack Jin. However, gets his shit rocked by Jin, who uses one finger to unleash an attack, sending Sung-yi flying. It's also revealed that Sung-yi is a major Legion fanatic and has many figures of him, but Jin breaks them all, claiming they made him uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Hugo has made it into Korea and learns the incident Jin caused yesterday. As he sits in a cafe, Young Wai contacts him by taking possessions of a waitress to mess with Hugo. Later, Jimin and Sung-yi go to the grocery store and discuss if Jin really could be Legion. However, a thief enters the store and steals all the wallets of the people there. Fortunately, he is stopped by Jin, who came to tell Jimin to buy some chicken. Nonetheless, after seeing an opportunity to run, the thief tries to get away, but a calamity happens to enter the store. The calamity is revealed to be the Spider Queen, a red-rank calamity, who eats the thief whole. Nonetheless, Legion stands up to the Spider Queen, trying to save the civilians present. On the other hand, Young Wai receives the news of Spider Queen, which him and his followers could not defeat in their previous raid, had appeared in the store. However, as he is incapable of facing a red rank alone, he decides to bury the entire building as to not let his reputation become more tattered. Meanwhile, back at the store, Min Sung-hoon is also present there and tries to use his exceptional powers in order to stop the calamities. However, even his S-rank magic proves ineffective. Nonetheless, Legion fails to disappoint and easily takes care of them. By the clothing Jin stole, Min Sung-hoon figures out that Jin is the one who attacked his fellow Coders. Suddenly, Spider Queen attacks again, but is also taken care by one punch. Soon, Sung-yi and Min Sung-hoon get orders from Choi Sung-hyuk, a Coders captain, to evacuate the building as per Young Wai's plan. Min Sung-hoon accepts Choi Sung-hyuk's plan and prepares to escape with Sung-yi, leaving everyone else there to die. But Sung-yi is against this idea and tries to fight Min Sung-hoon. However, their confrontation is stopped due to Jin, who pops out of nowhere to pin Sung-hoon down. Furthermore, Spider Queen then attacks Sung-hoon and devours him. As such, Jin wants to save everyone else and orders Jimin and Sung-yi to help the civilians escape, claiming that he will follow them soon. Meanwhile outside, Young Wai is left surprised when the civilians come running out of the store, as he ordered a barrier be put up. After hearing their pleas, he decides to enter the store and finds Spider Queen has been defeated. Furthermore, he learns that Hugo has also arrived at the spot. Suddenly, he is encountered with Jin as he sneaks up behind Young Wai, much to his shock. Outside, Sung-yi wonders if Jin really is whom he says he is. Suddenly, Hugo, revealed to be Sung-yi's father, pops up and asks what happened inside. He learned that a guy named Jin all saved everyone and killed of the Spider Queen. Suddenly, someone comes flying out the store. On the other hand, Young Wai fights with Jin and comes flying out of the building. However, he noticed is that Jin has a different appearance than the Legion he knew. As such, he thinks that Jin strike to impersonate Legion. However, after witnessing a glimpse of his power, he decides to get serious and powers up, stating that if he really is Legion, he should try proving it to him. Young Wai then uses his royal skill to attack. However, Jin emerges from the attack virtually unharmed and launches a punch straight into Young Wai's face, causing him to go flying back into a wall, and making him realize that Jin really is the real Legion. As the rest of the Coders surround the building, they feel a faint presence of Young Wai. With the help of Hugo, they manage to locate Young Wai and find him dead, along with a piece of paper with insults written on it stuck to his chest. Due to this incident, Hugo confirms that Jin is still alive, and he was the cause of this incident. Meanwhile, Jin is trying to get a hold of his artifacts which the saints stole from him. As such, he goes to Yang Huai's museum where he displays all of his divine artifacts. Upon notice, he finds that all of these are fake. As he continues his sightseeing, he finds his divine artifact, a toothpick, and consequently steals it. This causes swarms of guards to come, but Jin still doesn't back down and easily defeats them all. As he decides to head back, he senses the presence of Yang Huai's personal artifacts, claiming that it would be a mistake to leave empty-handed. On the other hand, Hugo also reaches the museum, however, finds it to be too late. Suddenly, he sees Jin coming out of the museum and goes to hug him. However, Jin punches him in the stomach, making Hugo realize that he really is Legion. Suddenly, Sagittarius God appears before them, leaving even Hugo contemplating the reason why the god appeared. The Sagittarius God is introduced as Apollo, who wishes to see if Jin really is Legion and starts pointing a flaming bow and arrow toward him. However, Hugo manages to calm Apollo down and claims that everything is okay as long as Jin is still alive. Suddenly, Jin then claims that starting from today he will start paying back not only him, also all the saints who has stolen all his possessions. As such, he punches Hugo as a punishment for leaving him in the demon tower. Suddenly, the guards perusing him finally catch up, however, as they are not capable of fighting against Jin. They call out the household god of Ares named Pishu to face Jin. Nonetheless, Jin is not concerned and uses Lime, the being from his divine toothpick artifact, to summon a sword, using which he then starts attacking the household god. He easily cuts off the god's arm, showing how powerful Jin really is. After achieving victory, Jin gets chance to take that tame household to be his own. He also picks a name for the god, calling it Piggy Bank. After this whole ordeal, Hugo takes Jin to his residence, where they sit down and discuss what really happened inside the demon tower. Jin explains on that fated day, he got stabbed in the back by the saints and got thrown into a trap. Furthermore, he adds that the administrator of the tower had the ability to revive the dead calamities, and even the worst calamity, Crimson Eye, was revived. As such, Jin spent 20 years trying to defeat all the calamities and even the administrator. However, after his victory he collapses on the ground. Moreover, he then got revived and now somehow has his current abilities. Jin also adds that the person that betrayed him knew the layout of the tower, as he knew about all the reviving calamity and the administrator. Jin also makes divine artifacts for his fight against the saints and decides to use a divine artifact called Safe of the Golden Fleece to lure out all the other saints from their territories. Moreover, he has already sent out a deceleration of war, which contains pictures of the dead Yang Huai and short message. He also reveals that Yang Huai wasn't really dead, rather Jin has sealed his soul inside of a stuffed animal. Hugo is surprised at the claim and wonders how Jin received this ability. Suddenly, Jin wants to visit the divine artifact store and manages to convince Sungyi to accompany him and introduce him to an appraiser. On the other hand, the Aquarius saint, Sophie Marty, receives news that all of Yang Huai's wealth, along with his body, is nowhere to be found. We also see the crocked and twisted personality of Sophie. Suddenly, she also receives news that the auction she was going to take part in would also host other saints, such as the Leo Saint Stephen Marker. Back in the Divine Artifact Store complex, Jin visits the store Sungyi leads him to, where his artifact is appraised very highly by an SS rank appraiser named Jin Mayon, who claims that he is a disciple of Legion. Much to Jin's shock, Jin Mayon also shows Jin a divine artifact, in the shape of a book, claiming that this was passed on to him when he became the disciple of Jin. However, Jin recognizes this book as his hit list, something which he thought he had forgotten somewhere, but turns out that this appraiser stole it. Meanwhile, the saint shows up and begins patiently waiting for the appraiser and decides to head in and talk to him herself. However, as soon as she lays her eyes on Jin, she gets mesmerized by his gorgeous appearance. As she gets closer to him, the powers of Jin give her the same presence of Legion, causing her to feel extreme fear and make run out of the store at high speeds. Jin and Mayan wonder why the saint left so quickly after entering, during which Jin claims that Sophie and him were old friends. Meanwhile, back to Sophie, who decides to order her followers to kill the appraiser and the man in the store, as she claims that they forced her to experience past trauma. She also hands her assistant her divine artifact in order to help them complete this task. As such, her assistant then decides to obey her command and ends up using the divine artifact given to her in order to create water replicas of all the rank cotters in the area. With their help, she enters the store, tasking the water replications to capture the Jin Mayon, while she captures Jin. However, their plan turns into a complete bust as Jin is absurdly strong and easily defeats all of the water replicas. However, the assistant still doesn't give up and summons water werewolves, using the artifact Sophie gave her in order to defeat Jin. Nonetheless, even they do not prove to be of any help as Jin defeats them single-handedly. This causes the assistant to run for her life, as she claims that this isn't over yet. This ordeal also convinces Jin Myung that this guy is really the renowned Legion. For the next part, please like and subscribe. Most of you guys are watching without subscribing, so please subscribe. It will motivate me to make more new content.